The show is about to begin.
Dude, that's Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
Featuring Smylie Kaufman.
If you're at a local IHOP at a PGA Tour event, you might see Hideki Matsuyama.
Clear up in the stance, strengthen the grip.
His co-host, Charlie Hulme.
We've now picked 5 of the last 8 winners on the PGA Tour.
Oh, just go in the hole. Please go in the hole. Please go in the hole. Please go in the hole. Yes, sir!
And the biggest names in golf.
That's a great question. Can I talk about it?
I don't think I'm ready.
How good does it get, SK?
Why not us, Troy?
Today, live from the Pinecrest Inn, it's the Smylie Show. So long, everybody.
This is the Smylie Show.
Welcome to the Smylie Show, where we're chock full storylines this week, Smylie. We had the 3rd consecutive winner on the PGA Tour, the age of 24 or younger.
Come on.
We have an airline that may or may not be on notice. It is it's a developing situation. We might know more at the end of the show. We're not sure. And huge week for the strength of the brand, okay? Because here's what I got for you. Not only do we know that the Imperial hat currently sitting on your head, is in the possession of Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, but we have a little something to share with you here, Smylie, that I think you did this intrepid screenshotting today. If you can see, I don't know if you can see my cursor here. See this gentleman up here I'm circling? We believe that is a Smylie Show in the wild hat sighting.
It is.
Maybe the first of its kind.
No, it definitely is. I was watching. This is the first hole. So Jordan and JT play together today on Sunday. Huge crowds out there following that group. And my buddy Eric, who's buddies with Jordan. Eric, you know Eric, who's caddied for
Eric
Jordan at
Linedecker,
Hero
right?
that one. Yeah. So Eric's like, just saw a Smylie Show hat and was like, where? So I'm like clicking back 10 on the feature group coverage. And then I found and identified this beautiful man wearing this beautiful hat. And I said, this guy needs to be identified. We must know his name and we must give him a medal of sorts.
Yes, please do. Please, if you recognize yourself here, and we hope that you do, reach out and we'll put together some sort of a congratulatory or thanks package. And that should be an incentive for all of you to buy Smylie Show hats and get seen at
You know what we're going to
tournaments.
do? We're going to take this photo. I'm going to screenshot. I'd give it to my 3.5-year-old daughter who loves coloring. And I'm going to have her drawing up a missing persons drawing. And that will maybe help us identify or get to the bottom of who this individual is.
Like it's like a police sketch, like fridge art that's a police sketch combined with the milk carton missing person situation. I like that. Maybe that's the prize. Maybe the prize is that if you wear a Smylie Show hat, we have Anna Carter draw a picture of you at the event and we mail that to you.
We've been looking for all the activities this week. We had 2 sick kids from Monday all the way until I would probably say this morning. So we had 6-7 days of just fever fun. So much fun.
So much fun. So many movies, so many PD Live pops. Yeah, those days are. We had the thing. Remember the thing that was kind of running through America that had to do with produce not so long ago. And it's for both of our kids, it was pretty quick, but like Walker had a quick sick one day and then our nanny got sick. She couldn't come in. And so I had my daughter the day after and I thought everything was going great. Took her and the dogs to the park. We were at the coffee shop about to order, a little something to get us going to start the day. And then she just vomited all over me and the sidewalk and the dogs. I was like, we're just going straight home. Sorry, dogs. No jog for you today. No chase, fetching the tennis ball. Straight home, movies the rest of the day. It's not fun to be just on lockdown with the kids in flu season.
It's not even flu season.
It's not even flu season.
Summer.
What am I saying?
What are we talking
Although
about?
they are doing flu shots now. I feel like this is we need to unpack this a little bit, Smylie. I think Big Flu is trying to extend their hold on the nation.
That's a good point.
There's something nefarious happening.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
No, but I don't doubt that your beliefs on the potential of the flu season getting expanded. I'm not going to go against that feeling or vibe that you have there, but I can tell you that this fever virus that my kids have, which apparently is a very common thing for these kids to get, it was really the first time Harris has been sick other than like ear infections. Poor buddy, man. He was just so sad, so fussy. And Anna Carter, man, like these kids were running so hot. It felt like me running off a couple 3 putts in a row. Like I touched their skin and it's like I'm like, wow, you're like sunburn hot. These kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt so bad for them, and there was nothing that we could do other than just, it's like, all right, we just gotta get to the end of it.
All right, well, T's and P's to the Kaufman kids.
Yeah.
T's and P's to my golf clubs, because
That's right.
United Airlines has traditionally been in favored status amongst this show. Usually don't miss. They're great for family travel, but we have a developing situation. I'm not even going to put it out there in the world, but I have like a clue. I'm going to call it like a clue round that I'm supposed to play, where it's like, this is happening at this place with this person, and I've been looking so forward to this. And if the clubs don't arrive, it's going to be soul crushing. So we're not ready to fully put United Airlines on blast yet, but it was a long and stressful afternoon leading to the show record. Well, that's what we'll say right now, Smylie.
Well, history does leave clues about where this special place is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that part. If we were playing a game of Clue, you should be able to get place right. I think if you miss that, we can't help you a ton here. The rest we'll see how much of that will. Yes. So that part, we'll circle around on that. We'll finish that up. Let's just hope they make it. What we do, the place we need to go next, of course, is Michael Brennan getting it done on Sunday at the Wyndham Championship. And this is, so first of all, what a great celebration. Comes off the green, hugs his mom, and you hear like the hot mic, "We're going to the Masters." And it hasn't sunk in for him yet. And he just realizes in that moment, sharing it with his mom, that win gets him into the.
He played the Masters this year.
Whatever it was a viral moment with his.
He definitely played the Masters this year.
I'm just telling you what I saw on the.
I'm
telling you what I saw on the.
Not to ruin a good moment. Hold the phone.
Okay.
Now I got to look it up.
Well, yeah, because now you got me second guessing. It was
he made every cut in the majors this year.
It was he did.
So,
I don't know. Now this feels
he's back
less,
in the Masters.
Well, this feels less heartfelt than maybe initially it was, because you're exactly right. I don't know why I didn't. I'm not sure we should edit this part of the show out. It's more. I think this is something that we just got to remind maybe his mom that they've been there. Yeah, like act like you've been there. Act like you've been there.
Like he finished top 25.
That's right. Because I remember seeing that scoreboard of like total score to par for all players that made all four cuts.
He made all the cuts in the majors.
And I don't know why. I mean, I heard it when he came off the ground. I was like, that's so cool. But I just, because I think in this, so
she tricked us.
She did trick us. She did trick us. I mean, I think so. With Michael Brennan, we're talking about a guy who, as of last fall, prior to the Bank of Utah Championship, was supposed to be playing on the Korn Ferry Tour this year. Wins that event, gets his tour card, and then had a pretty rough start to 2026. Maybe this is some of the erasure I did on his start of the Masters. He did not notch a top 20 finish until the Charles Schwab Challenge, where he tied for 6th. And then little momentum the past couple weeks, tied for 24th at the 3M Open, tied for 15th at the Rocket Classic, and now wins this week. We had him on last fall after that win. We talked about everything from stat tracking apps, the putting work, and things like that, and all the things he's done to work on his game. For you just tracking the year for Michael from that win, from the dip in form to where he is now, what do you kind of make of this debut on the PGA Tour?
Well, I mean, after the event in Utah, where he just absolutely destroyed the golf course. I mean, I think he was like close to 30 under par. This guy was, I mean, just demolishing the golf ball at 8,000 feet. And after speaking with him too in the interview that we did, I was just kind of blown away at how good he was on the Americans Tour and how many rounds he had under 66. So in my mind going into the interview, especially coming off of a PGA Tour win, I'm like, this guy's golf swing is sick. He's not afraid to go low. And just his strength of being able to hit it so far, that should translate well to the PGA Tour.
for me, Ohtani is the MVP, even if he pitches 15 games a year and that's it. The guy's the best hitter in baseball, or one of them, and pitches, even if it's 15 games a year and he's great, sign me up. I think he still wins, but I think I like the other investments there.
Yeah, I would say we're in total agreement on this. Ohtani's going to win the award, but that doesn't mean that A, he's a good investment at this point, and B, another player isn't a good investment.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What Michigan have to play versus Penn State is insane. Like, instead of Big Ten teams worrying about SEC and all that, like, Michigan fans should not be happy about what Matt Campbell gets to walk into. James Franklin's got to be kicking himself. Penn State do not play Oregon, Indiana, or Ohio State. They avoided the entire Big Three of the it's incredible.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You know, the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, you know, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Just can't win the big game. He can't get us in the big game. Well, we got to let him go now because we're tired. We'll keep the quarterback. So, you know what I've been saying? Okay, you kept the quarterback. Guess what? Mr. Lamar Jackson, it's on you now.
Hey, absolutely.
It's on you.
Absolutely.
Right? It's on Lamar.
It is. It is totally on him now and the new coaching staff there.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Like, that's what people were potentially alluding to with the amount of talent this guy has. So, Charlie, I think leaving the Wyndham Championship and all of these young American winners and the conversations that you and I keep having about what this President's Cup team is going to look like. And here's another young player that Brandt Snedeker is going to have to consider. And it's just adding to, you know, what is a great young American group that is poised to kind of be that Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland, and Matt Wolff. Like, this is, we're kind of entering that next stage with a really fun group of guys like Thor and Michael Brennan, Koiven, and the kind of list goes on with plenty of other guys.
I mean, those are your last three winners right there: Koiven, Thor, and Michael Brennan. And then I'm not putting aside the President's Cup conversation briefly here, but just talking about the depth of young talent on this tour. Ben James shoots 61 today to finish solo third.
Right.
I know 108 in the FedEx Cup. He's a guy who just came off 2026 winner of that PGA Tour U category to make his way onto the tour. And even thinking about guys that, I think about Tom Kim and the sort of the down period where he got written off a little bit. And there are so many young guys with a ton of potential that give him a few years to figure it out, like a Luke Clinton, Tommy Morrison on the Korn Ferry Tour. But just
we're
there's
keeping
so
tabs.
much.
We're keeping tabs.
And then even looking at the girls' side, Asterisk Tally today wins the U.S. Women's AM. I mean, it's just the developmental program for American golf right now. Miles Russell is another guy who next week you're going to see him in action at Marion for the U.S.
Right.
the men's AM. So it's just a great time for young American golf and just the talent it's producing and the ability to win right away. It's a renaissance of sorts.
No, it's great to see. Michael heading into this week, I'm trying to see where he was at in the FedEx Cup. I know he made a huge move
105.
to just. Okay, so it would be very, very difficult.
He goes to 47.
It would be very, very difficult to consider him for the president. Like, he's probably got to win again to then, I think then you're squarely in the mix in the conversation of like, okay, you got a young American and potentially one of the hottest players in the world. So like, I think he's going to have to keep building on that to just make his way into the conversation, at least get in contention. But he's, with Michael, it's it's just great to see young dudes. And like, that's the thing about the PGA Tour. And I know we're going to talk about LIV Golf here in a little bit, as we're not going to put it off this week. We're officially going to be breaking down the LIV
it was a good
news
bit
that have been building up over the last 4 weeks. And so we feel like we have all of the information in our hands, but the PGA Tour's always made stars. And when you win on the PGA Tour, you become more well-known. It's just a fact, man. Like, and there's been young guys that have won on the LIV Golf Tour that Eugenia Chikara, that's you pronounce his last name. It's like, listening and watching some of his quotes about, it's like, I made all this money, but like nothing changed for me. I still had this empty feeling of wanting to compete against the best and like playing in major championships. Like that's what my dreams were. And so when Michael Brennan has this moment off of 18, not to say he hasn't already played in the Masters and played in these majors, but like that's what this kid's dream was, is to win on the PGA Tour. And now his life continues to evolve and change, and we can start, this trajectory of where could Michael Brennan's ceiling be. And that's, as we get into this debate later in the show, like that's what's happening for these young guys, is that they're given these opportunities to become one of the best players, not only in the world, but also one of the best American players in the world, which then of course just opens you up for so many opportunities when it comes to sponsors and just becoming a famous athlete here in the States. There's so much that comes to it. Michael's a talented player. I'm so happy that he got the win, and it looked hot. I will say it was a hot win.
Having just departed that part of the world this morning, can confirm, very hot. The summer of cotton was stretched to its very limits this summer, although I will say we are largely through it. Though here's a problem, is that the temperatures come down a little bit, but the humidity in August in North Carolina, it's like sitting in a steam room every time you go outside. So like kudos to those guys for not, getting a little, like, I guess we're headed to Memphis this next week. So
is August the worst month of the year?
I think it has an argument for it. Like, you're just saying nationwide. I think there's an argument.
Just my opinion, August is my least favorite. We don't have college football yet. And so it's, it's just talking.
It's the dog days of summer.
Football. It's the dog days of summer, right? The golf course is just holding on for dear life. It's watered down. And, some golf courses are closed in August because it's too hot, which I'm not a fan of. Like, we don't have golf courses open. The beach is too hot. There are some places that are amazing. Like if you go out to the mountains, that's awesome. But I'm not doing that. This is like the playoff run. So I'm going to the hottest places in the world. It's the Sahara Desert out there in Memphis. I'm not going to be there this week. So if you're there, I'm thinking about you.
I'd say if you're probably like, up in the Great Lakes region, or you're in the mountains, like August is doable.
You're probably talking like, what are you talking about? August is like our best month. So I hear you, but maybe they got mosquito problems that we're not unaware of, right?
That's, I think, the low key thing is I feel like the bugs, no matter where you are, August, it's like, it's feeding time. Like, we're going to go find those humans and we're going to get them. And that would be my take as to that'd be the confirmation as to why August might be the worst month. And then also, depending on what type of golf course you're trying to play, even in the South where it is good weather, what happens is the Bermuda rough is like a thicket. You lose balls at the bottom of the rough.
When does Bermuda punch?
Bermuda punch depends on club to club, but usually it's kind of like end of June, early July for most courses.
Okay, so not August.
Yeah. Not August. Okay. August is hopefully the greens are just kind of getting back into full form. So, hey, you tell us if there's a worse month in the comments, and we'll see if we agree or disagree.
I think I hate being cold, so February probably takes the cake for me. Shortest month of the year. It's it gets dark at 4:30 here in Birmingham because we're right up against Eastern time zone. I know we're not a time zone pod, but just to let you know, we're pretty close at Central time zone in Birmingham to the Eastern time zone, which hearing about all this buzz with the daylight savings, and I never know if it's changing or not changing, like falling back. Like, I think we don't want it to move, meaning, you know what I mean? Like, because you want
to do away with daylight savings time. I think that's actually probably
I need the big board to look at it, because I it's almost like what goes up goes down type situation, like an economics equation. I just know that I want it to be lighter here, so whatever that situation is.
asked about the week in the season. He said, ball struck it great. It's just all on the greens. I don't know what the deal is. I got zero confidence. Can't putt. I don't know. So there's going to be a lot of changes here soon. I think it's pretty pathetic that I can't get through 0 top 10s basically in 2 years to be in the prime of your career and be as good as I think I am. I think that's very pathetic, disappointing. Just need to go home and completely reevaluate everything, which is interesting. I mean, and I'm not even, I think good on him for holding himself to task. And
he's always had that way, man.
And he's looking, if you look at his stats, he's had some amazing approach rounds this year. He's been one of the best out there since he rejoined the tour, but just the putting, man. I mean, I think it's funny how these themes keep popping up of, here we are talking about Michael Brennan struggling early in the season, finds something, and then goes out and wins. Michael Thorbjornsen, all the work he did with Stephen Sweeney after kind of trying to do some funky stuff, open stance, kind of, having it back in a stance, figures out some stuff, goes out and wins. And this is another guy with Brooks. I saw he had a new putter this week. He'd gone to the Spider. He went back to a different sort of Scotty Cameron half mallet type situation. Just wondering what it's going to be for him. He said he's going to go play DP World Tour a few events this fall, and then maybe come back and play a few PGA Tour events at the end of the fall season. But just trying to figure out that putting so he can have a bigger and better full season. 27.
He's had some good iron weeks, Charlie, but I'm just kind of sitting here. Like, the cool part about Data Golf is that I can quickly scroll between some of his good years and seeing what the difference is between the last couple years of just the greens and the reds popping. And some of the eyeballing things that I see is that, yeah, of course, his iron play this year was solid, and he's had much better iron years, which is crazy to think, but that's how good of an iron player he's been in his career. I've seen some weeks where he's gaining over +2 in these back in 2021-20. But really what I see is off of the tee, and it's not that he's been poor by any means this year, but it's only gaining about somewhere between a half and about 0.75 to 0.8. But when you really look back at his golden years there, he's well over +1 just about every week. And when you think about that, those are the elite, drivers of the balls, the Rorys, the Scotty Schefflers, where they really gain an advantage every single week. And I wonder too if that's just him being a little bit older, not having as much pop in the bat. There's a lot of factors that you can look at. Is it age? Is he getting older? Is he not quite as strong? Is the game and the players that are coming up just more athletic and just swing the club faster than him? That's something I think that you have to talk about with Brooks, is that he still is a huge dude, and he still does move the golf ball, but there are other guys that are just as long and just as accurate with the driver. And so for Brooks, he's got to continue to keep his speed up. His iron game is there. Now he's just got to go put it all together with the short game.
Yeah. Well, with that,
is that fair to say when you're kind of going back and forth?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think, overall on Brooks this season, obviously it's great to have him back. It's funny as we're segueing into a topic about LIV Golf, just about what's going to happen to a lot of those guys. I mean, he's the only player amongst the 4 who are eligible to do that returning member program. And I'm sure that there was a lot of, anyone who is not just thinking about golf is going to have a little bit of, play impacted. And if you're already kind of worried about the psychological element of putting and trying to kind of switch around and try to, figure out a lot of different things that are working, I could see how that would only be exacerbated by, everything that was going on his return. But he did say in those same set of quotes where he was critiquing his performance this season, how it's a 10 out of 10 in terms of being back on tour, and everyone's been so welcoming. And so maybe just
I know, didn't it feel like so long ago when he's teeing it up at the Farmers, and every hole it's like, oh my gosh, what a 3-iron he just hit. He is so back.
Ohtani is the MVP, even if he pitches 15 games a year and that's it. The guy's the best hitter in baseball, or one of them, and pitches, even if it's 15 games a year and he's great, sign me up. I think he still wins, but I think I like the other investments there.
Yeah, I would say we're in total agreement on this. Ohtani's going to win the award, but that doesn't mean that A, he's a good investment at this point, and B, another player isn't a good investment.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What Michigan have to play versus Penn State is insane. Like, instead of Big Ten teams worrying about SEC and all that, like, Michigan fans should not be happy about what Matt Campbell gets to walk into. James Franklin's got to be kicking himself. Penn State do not play Oregon, Indiana, or Ohio State. They avoided the entire Big Three of the it's incredible.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You know, the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, you know, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Just can't win the big game. He can't get us in the big game. Well, we got to let him go now because we're tired. We'll keep the quarterback. So, you know what I've been saying? Okay, you kept the quarterback. Guess what? Mr. Lamar Jackson, it's on you now.
Hey,
it's on you.
Absolutely.
Right? It's on Lamar.
It is. It is totally on him now and the new coaching staff there.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
We've collected a lot of things in this last month as we've led up to this topic, and a ton of stuff's changed. So maybe the best place is to kind of set the table with, and a lot of this is information that's being reported in various places. You'd assume that's sourced from in the know types, but obviously a lot of this is happening behind closed doors. We're just going to give you what we think we know, and then try to start to break it down a little bit and play out both what the future of this league and the players on it and what 2027 and beyond could look like. So in early June, after Valderrama, there was like a sort of a break in the schedule. There was a lack of clarity over remaining events on the tour. There's a sort of move toward LIV Golf 2.0 where bankruptcy's on the table. They're looking for investors in the $250 million to $300 million range. They're restructuring to LIV Golf 2.0, where players are going to be offered equity instead of these large contracts to acquire them to bring them over to play, like the LIV 1.0, so to speak, how that sort of functioned. And so there are interesting things there where John Rahm, a lot of these contracts that were initially signed were sort of front loaded, where guys would get like half their guaranteed money up front. John Rahm's was backloaded. So in a bankruptcy type of situation, he can end up being one of the biggest creditors to the league, which of course would impact whatever deal sheet's in front of him that includes equity and LIV 2.0. And so there, and then there's also there was of course the canceled event in New Orleans. Now we've just found out, confirmed this week on the LIV broadcast, the team championship in Michigan will not happen. So there's just one more event for the LIV Golf Tour this year at Indianapolis, and then the season will conclude. I'm pulling my notes here to make sure I don't miss anything, but there was of course Scott O'Neill said that the LIV Golf has an agreement in place with a lead investor, signed by the investor and approved by the board, that's supposed to be $250 million, but it's phrased in such a way where we're not exactly sure what that investment entails. We're not exactly sure as to what that investor strategy might be in terms of how they'd restructure after bankruptcy and what that would mean for dissolution of contracts. Scott O'Neill has also been very coy on, whether or not, like, of course, every time he's asked about, of course, we want to have Bryson DeChambeau and John Rahm and all these guys here for years and beyond. But I think a lot of those guys haven't really been definitive about their potential moves. So what we know about the league for the most part is with this $250 million injection, that the structure of it should be 10 events total, 5 domestic, 5 international. And so maybe we just kind of start there, Smylie, with all this stuff going on. And I'm sure we'll bring back up details that I might have missed in the sort of rundown as we kind of continue to break down what the future looks like. But to me, that's a really strong mini tour, right? Like that's something that
I didn't know we were going to go there.
I wonder like what the PGA Tour response or others would have been if this was like the initial sort of offering. Like if it was, hey, you can play this and you can play, because for a lot of these guys, you'd assume that maybe assumption's the wrong idea here, but just that we saw a bunch of these guys, 9 LIV players, that structure this agreement with the DP World Tour after, all the sort of the appeals situation was resolved by these agreements where it said, hey, if you come and play and these, 4 to 6 events that we're mandating you have to play and you do all this media stuff for us, we'll allow you to play on the LIV Tour. And they signed those deals and it worked out. And so you could see how there would be a potential for a guy who wanted to do the 10 sort of, glorified mini tour events on LIV next year and also play another international tour where you can continue to get world ranking points and things like that. That could potentially be an option. But I just, it's the 2.0 is I'll stop and kind of get your thoughts, but I'm kind of wondering like, why are we even doing this in its current form? Just because I just don't know what it does for the landscape of golf.
I think I was really interested to hear like who are the investors? Was it going to be, 5 or 6 very wealthy people that just wanted to own something? Was it going to just be one owner who said, I'm in, this is my chance to own something. I can't buy an NFL team, so I'm going to buy this golf tour and I'm going to be famous because of it. Nobody knew what it was going to be. I think a lot of people felt private equity most likely was going to be the way that they went. But then seeing the reports that it's BC Partners, which it's a crediting agency, the way I understand it. So that wasn't exactly when I read that news and very like, I'm not an expert in this at all. Like I'd much rather talk to you about P1 to P2 in a golf swing, but it wasn't as an attractive of a partner as some were predicting with a big private equity group to see this as actually a business. It was much more of a, hey, this might help us on our balance sheet from a crediting standpoint. And I don't think that many people in the business world see this as like this is going to turn LIV Golf around.
Well, and the details that we're kind of missing is like, how is it being structured? Is some form of this a loan? I also think what's happening here as well is there's this sort of chicken and egg thing where BC Partners or any potential investor in this league, so they're going to continue to seek additional funding. Because 250, I feel like is like they're the minimum they can do to keep this thing going, at least the way they envision it. Is that investors are only interested if you're going to have at least the majority of the players that were there on LIV 1.0 be there for 2027 and beyond.
Did you see the term sheet that they asked players to sign saying, hey, we need to know if you're going to be here or not, because this deal might change with our investment partner if X, Y, and Z aren't playing. Like it might change the value of what they may give from a loan standpoint. So
if the investors are waiting on the players and the players are waiting on the investors, at what point? And also, if I'm a player and you're telling me, hey, you get an equity stake in this new venture, I'm like, well, what if the venture is worthless? Then that does nothing for me. At a certain point, I just don't know. And I'm really not trying to be unfair to LIV here. I just, I think, look, there are a lot of things that league did that, resulted in probably necessary change for the PGA Tour for professional golf at large that were a net positive. I think that we're seeing a more streamlined version of the PGA Tour, something you and I have called for on the show repeated times, make it identifiable. All that stuff I don't think happens without the sort of push that LIV gives. But I'm also looking at what this could be in the future, and I don't see why, as a player, I would have stopped playing on this tour as soon as possible once I knew that the PIF rug was being pulled out, because that's when my clock begins for readmittance to the PGA Tour in some form or fashion. I don't see it.
You're right. I think without having a clear pathway back for these players who are not some of the top guys, I think it's safe to say we can identify who those top players are, who the PGA Tour would like back quickly. I think Jon Rahm and Joaquin Niemann would be one of those two players. I think Bryson's super interesting. I think Bryson wants to own his own league in this. I think this is a perfect scenario for him, which is why he's all aboard, is leading, or I should say a lead spokesperson in the player only meeting. So not surprised to see that this is something that he's all in. And it may be better suited for him, because we've talked about this, the PGA Tour and Bryson just doesn't feel like it's going to be a good fit moving forward. I think for Bryson, he's totally fine playing this team golf. He wants to see it advance. And
Did you see the Bryson quotes in New York Post, like the Mark Harris
the quotes were wild. Like there were some things like in those quotes I think anybody could read and say, well, I think some people might disagree with your own view of your own self. Like there's never been a player that's been bigger than the game. And I think there's some quotes in there that came across as like, who wouldn't want to watch me play? And there's people that wouldn't want to watch Bryson play. And I'm one of those people that like to watch Bryson play. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that I am, one of the people, but it just came across as like that he is the person that is going to make this thing go. I think a lot of the players probably look to him in this and his audience, and which of course is massive. Like what he's been able to build over the last 5 years at LIV, just in his YouTube and his popularity in the game, and the amount of people that have grown into the game just watching his YouTube is you can't put a number on it.
For me, Ohtani is the MVP, even if he pitches 15 games a year and that's it. The guy's the best hitter in baseball, or one of them, and pitches, even if it's 15 games a year and he's great, sign me up. I think he still wins, but I think I like the other investments there.
Yeah, I would say we're in total agreement on this. Ohtani's going to win the award, but that doesn't mean that A, he's a good investment at this point, and B, another player isn't a good investment.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What Michigan have to play versus Penn State is insane. Like, instead of Big Ten teams worrying about SEC and all that, like, Michigan fans should not be happy about what Matt Campbell gets to walk into. James Franklin's got to be kicking himself. Penn State do not play Oregon, Indiana, or Ohio State. They avoided the entire Big Three of the it's incredible.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
The dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Just can't win the big game. He can't get us in the big game. Well, we got to let him go now because we're tired. We'll keep the quarterback. So, you know what I've been saying? Okay, you kept the quarterback. Guess what? Mr. Lamar Jackson, it's on you now.
Hey,
it's on you.
Absolutely.
Right? It's on Lamar.
It is totally on him now and the new coaching staff there.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo, only on SportsGrid.
And it'll be interesting to see, the decision that he makes, moving forward in this. He made a decision for the huge financial gain. Is he going to make a decision now to come back to the PGA Tour that won't suit him financially in all of this? Like, he's going to take a big hit and not waiting on what that equity could be in the league, because he will be one of the biggest creditors in all of that. So, that to say,
what does it even look like for Rahm?
Here's the thing. I think about Jon Rahm and the guys that he maybe convinced to come play with him in the league, and like that he's going to have to call Tyrrell Hatton. He'll have to call a Tom McKibben and say, hey guys, I'm leaving. I'm bailing on you. I'm jumping ship. And that's a tough conversation, I think, if you're the captain of the team, to have to say like, hey, I'm leaving you out here for the Sharks, and we're gonna let you go fend for yourself. Now, Tom McKibben and Tyrrell Hatton, like they're gonna find homes on the DP World Tour, or if they want to come back and try to play on the Challenger Tour, that's definitely going to be a place that they're gonna have an well, McKibben won't. Hatton might have a chance to get on the Challenger Tour, but that's I think the most interesting thing is that he will have to make a selfish decision to come back to the tour, even though most people would agree it's not a selfish decision at this point. It's like, this is bad. We want to see Ron back in that legacy conversation. He's made plenty of money over there to make up for what he's losing. But you're getting back into the tour where what's the retirement now look like? Did he lose all of it? Is it gone? Those are the questions that are now he's going to have to figure out with the tour. And I imagine those questions and those conversations are going to start pretty quickly, as we got 2 more weeks left before that last LIV event. And I think we're going to know a lot more this fall. I guess what I want to leave you with a question with is, when you read the Bryson quotes and you heard my, kind of interpretation of the quotes, were you kind of left with in the same, did you think the same way about it all?
I think I find Bryson to be a very compelling character in just the world of golf at large, like just beyond professional golf, right? Because like now YouTube golf is arguably his greatest and most influential space, and a lot of people are watching this episode on YouTube right now that probably come from a Bryson channel or Bryson content, and it's like everything that he does sort of bleeds into the way you consume golf on this platform, which is really interesting. I think that there is, I don't want to say miscalculation, but I think that the estimation he has of his own sort of worth and influence is he's not estimating it in the correct space, right? Like, so if you are going to leave the PGA Tour, if you're going to burn bridges on the way out, if you're going to sue that tour, like have your name on a lawsuit against that tour, it doesn't make a ton of sense then to
the tour's like, hey, we want you to come back and play.
And by the way, he could have in February. He could have put, I mean, think about that. Like as a listed someone who sued the tour, they said, here you go. Here's your chance. We're going to give you a little 1-month window here. Brooks is coming back. John Rahm can come back. Cam Smith can come back. I don't know. You guys figure out your whole contract out with LIV. Brooks did that on his own. If you want to, you can. And he turned that down. And I think and it mirrors some of the rumors we've heard about his negotiation and the leverage he thought he had, and then ultimately lost because Piff wasn't even courting, a re-up with the league. But
that's not talked enough. I mean, I'm telling you, man, the numbers that I heard that were being floated around about what he was trying to get, the numbers that were being quoted were $500 million is what he was trying to get from the Saudis and the PIF in this. And they said no. And then they go back and they eventually had a number. And then not too long after that, they were out. And so we're talking about Rahm in this. Bryson, he never got that second contract, man. Not to say this guy's loaded. He's made a lot of money. But what
they've even paid it out. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't, again, we're now guessing, like, which courts are these cases being tried in, and what do those look like, and how do you you file for bankruptcy?
All of this is like, are you going to go to Saudi Arabia and show up on the courthouse steps and say, give me my money?
I need my 500 mil. But I think for Bryson, it's like, of course, there are still a ton of PGA Tour fans who would love to see Bryson competing on the PGA Tour, without a doubt. And but I think when you're talking about the way he wants to come back into it, it's never going to happen that way for him, because of kind of what you're saying. His estimation of his value, it is large, and it's large in the game of golf. But it's I think that's why everyone's kind of okay with him saying, okay, if LIV doesn't work, I might not play the PGA Tour. Like, I don't know how that looks like for major qualification. Obviously the U.S. Open's a 10-year deal.
He's through, 2029 for the majors, man. Like, he's still in a really good spot there.
Yeah.
But
he's
you know,
34 for U.S. Open, right? Because 10 years for the U.S. Open.
You're still so heavily reliant on how you play in the majors to keep yourself in that top 50 past
And
that
how did that go this year?
2029, right? It
you know,
didn't go well for 3, but he was looking pretty good there for the Open there for a minute.
Well, and that's exactly right. But I'm saying, like, if you are, and not to belittle his Open performance, and it's 2 years in a row. I mean, where he was left for dead in the first round, and then came back and almost, you know, over 3 days, you know, would have won the tournament. But I think that if you are going to bank on that, and if that's your stated goal, is like effectively play the majors to get the visibility for whatever it is, your sponsors, you know, your LIV team, if that still exists, then you got to play well enough to make the weekend in all of those, and hopefully contend to keep staying in the mix and getting world ranking points and things like that. And then you go back and do your YouTube projects and play with everyone else, and people still find you compelling. Or you play DP World Tour, guys.
Which he doesn't need to do. I would just say that all the players in that league, they need a star to be able to lift up the league. You know, if any of these stars start to jump, we've already had Brooks Koepka leave. Patrick Reed has also left. If John Rahm decides to leave, like they have to have Bryson in order for this thing to run. And I think most people, and I every time Bryson is with the media, giving quotes, watching him play, I'm so fascinated by you know, him trying to beat the game of golf. Like Rahm and his conversations with the tour.
Yeah.
And I think it hurts them. I think it hurts them a little bit too that they're not having Michigan. The season ending earlier, just like with college football, man. Like, you're not making a bowl game, your players are out they're out to talk to anybody. They're not around the fitness, they're not around the academic. They are just talking to anybody. And you've seen it in college football, and you're about to see it with LIV Golf. As soon as the season finishes in a couple weeks, these players are just going to be figuring out, where can I play? Where can I play?
Well,
because they might not play until Like when does LIV Golf typically start? When's their first event? Like in a typical season?
Was it February? Was kind of like that was the event that it was it? I thought
Didn't
it
it
was
feel
February.
later than that at times? Like
I'm trying to remember the time
February,
of Patrick
March,
Reed
like,
where it was like the first event of the year was early in the year, and he hadn't had a contract signed yet. He was playing the DP World Tour events, and then it was like, oh wait, no, I'm just going to keep doing this. I think that if you think about like strategic timing, if they play this last event in Indianapolis, and I got to look at the schedule on that. Is that this week or is that next week? Because
could you see a world in which Rahm is playing this fall on the PGA Tour?
Man, that would be crazy. But I would just think,
is that a possible?
Wouldn't it be nice?
Is that a possible scenario?
I think anything's possible at this point. But if Brian Rolap shows up at his Tour Championship media address, and
there's nothing that he can play for in the fall.
Yeah, but I'm saying, so let's see here. Team Championship Michigan, yeah, that's still on the schedule, but we know that that's not happening. So August 20th through 23rd. Okay, so that's like that is the week before the Tour Championship, I believe. Let me just do some little calendar.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. So I mean, so it's probably too tight. That's probably too tight. I mean, I'm just trying to think of like the timing of a relative announcement strategically for the PGA Tour, like if rolling it out that Rahm's coming back during Tour Championship week, or doing it between the Tour Championship.
That's possible. Like there's a possibility that they can make an announcement that Jon Rahm's coming back to the PGA Tour at Eastlake. I mean, that's like a mic drop of all mic drops, or like Joaquin Neiman. Like there could be a bunch of players that could be alluded to. For Mo Live, because he typically speaks. That's a pretty big press conference.
That's what I'm saying.
I recall.
That's the one I'd circle. I think Rollout Presser Tour Championship. Like if stuff starts, start hearing things on the internet, little nuggets from Flushing It and other accounts that seem to be in the know, and there's a little bit of smoke there. I would not be shocked if we get something big there. That's like these guys are coming back, and it's true. Like a week after LIV ends, it's the true death knell for that thing.
Yeah, gosh, because that will ultimately decide whether LIV Golf's going to be able to press on. It's like what happens with their top guys. Like we know Bryson's in, but what happens with the other guys? And that's what we got. There's our show. There's our show.
I mean, honestly, we might go if we're 1:30 in. We might have Jackson split this up. What we should do is we should. We have Jackson split this in 2 episodes, so the people who listen on Monday, they get the recap and they think we're about to talk to LIV. We're like, you have to wait one more day. We have to wait one more day for the LIV recap, and we're going to drop that on Tuesday. But either way, I mean,
watch something watch some news drop tomorrow. They're like, all right, we're gonna have to add on to this. We waited 4 weeks, and we should have waited 4 weeks in a day.
Well, I'm sure we'll have more to talk about soon. And right now, I got to go figure out if my golf club's arrived. So that's where thank you. That's where
I would normally say good luck with your ace, but actually in this scenario, it's like good luck with your 6.
Yeah.
Any blackjack players would know you don't want a 6.
Oh, I just played blackjack for the first time. Well, not the first time, but like
are you like one of those guys like that like doesn't go by the book when you play blackjack? Like you'd be a guy that just kind of changes strategy as you go.
That's what. So we played it this week, and like I had my buddy sitting next to me telling me how to play, and like there are a couple times where I hit, and they're like, "Don't hit right there."
No, I couldn't sit. No, I couldn't sit next to you.
Couldn't sit at your table. Oh, and also this week, cannot wait for the interview on Wednesday. Hunter Mahan.
Oh yeah,
it was awesome. I was sitting there in the background. It's got it all, man. It's got a little.
We got some.
You want to work on
we got some good interviews coming up.
Some really good ones coming up. Hunter this week I thought was cool. Hearing you two kind of talk about processing the various stages of your career, going through the swing in great detail, talking about the short game, the work he's done with Stan Utley, and then just big picture thoughts from a guy who's been on 7 national teams, Ryder Cup and President's Cup combined, on where we stand with those teams and what they should look like going forward. So do not miss that episode. It's on the Golf Channel this week. I believe the air times are 9 and noon Eastern. There's another late airtime for Golf Channel, so lots of exposure on Golf Channel this week.
Nice.
And then we have, and of course on YouTube on Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate y'all watching and listening, sticking to the end of this LIV recap.
We'll
talk to you soon,
man. I gotta run.
We'll see you next week on the Golf Channel. This has been The Smylie Show.
I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our local fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too, so please keep it up.
For all the good people of YouTube, like and subscribe.
You guys have some good takes, so I'm happy to come on and shoot the
Back in for the